There is a door, not a physical door, not a door you can touch with your hands or open with a key made of metal, but it is real as any door that has ever stood before you. And beyond that door exists a level of intelligence, awareness, guidance, and creative power that most men sense occasionally but never fully understand. Some encounter it once in their lives. Some hear its whisper and ignore it. Some follow it unknowingly and later call the result luck. And a very small number of men learn to cultivate it deliberately. I call this door the entrance to the Temple of Wisdom, and the key that opens it is the sixth sense. Now listen carefully. Everything we have discussed throughout this entire journey has been preparation for this moment. Definiteness of purpose, faith, autosuggestion, specials knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, persistence, the mastermind, sex transmutation, the subconscious mind, the brain as a broadcasting and receiving station. Every one of these principles has been developing the instrument necessary for the operation of the sixth sense. Because the sixth sense is not a beginning. It is the summit, the highest faculty available to the disciplined human mind. And tonight I want to show you what it is, how it works, how it speaks, and how to begin developing it deliberately. Now let us begin carefully, because this principle must be approached honestly. The sixth sense cannot be explained completely through ordinary analytical language. I will not pretend otherwise. I can describe it. I can explain the conditions under which it appears. I can tell you what it feels like. I can tell you how the greatest achievers in history used it. But I cannot fully reduce it to mechanical explanation, and neither could the greatest minds I studied. Yet every one of them experienced it, repeatedly, consistently, powerfully. The sixth sense is the faculty through which infinite intelligence communicates with the human mind. It is the channel through which intuition, hunches, inspired ideas, warnings, impressions, and flashes of creative insight arrive. Not through the five physical senses, not through deliberate reasoning, but suddenly, quietly, completely, often without logical explanation until later events confirm the truth of what arrived. You have experienced this. Every person listening to me has experienced it. The feeling that told you not to trust someone before evidence appeared. The sudden certainty about a decision before logic caught up. The inspired idea arriving unexpectedly while walking, resting, or sitting quietly. The unexplained knowing. The hunch that proved correct. That was the sixth sense speaking. Now understand this carefully. The sixth sense does not speak loudly. It does not argue. It does not force. It arrives softly, calmly, clearly, and usually only once. The undisciplined mind misses it because mental noise drowns it out. Fear drowns it out. Anxiety drowns it out. Distraction drowns it out. The constantly overstimulated mind loses sensitivity to subtle impressions. But the disciplined mind becomes receptive. Now let us speak about how the sixth sense actually communicates. First, through intuition, a knowing without reasoning, the feeling that this path is correct, or dangerous, or important, without conscious evidence explaining why. Second, through hunches, ideas arriving suddenly and completely, the solution appearing all at once after prolonged struggle. Third, through warnings, the subtle emotional signal alerting you before visible danger emerges. Fourth, through inspiration, the sudden creative breakthrough, the unexpected vision, the idea so complete and powerful that it feels received rather than manufactured. Many of history's greatest creators described their best ideas this way, not as products of logical assembly, but as arrivals. Thomas Edison described ideas appearing during quiet states of relaxed concentration. Nikola Tesla claimed inventions arrived mentally complete before physical construction. Abraham Lincoln spoke about deep inner certainty guiding critical decisions. Andrew Carnegie trusted intuitive judgment in choosing people more than visible credentials. These men did not rely solely upon analytical thinking. They used something deeper. Now listen carefully. The sixth sense is not magic, and it is not superstition. It is a developed faculty, a higher form of mental perception emerging from disciplined mental organization. The subconscious mind acts as the bridge, the brain acts as the receiving instrument, and the properly conditioned mind becomes sensitive enough to receive impressions beyond ordinary reasoning. Now let me tell you the first condition necessary for developing the sixth sense: definiteness of purpose. Without definite purpose, the mind remains scattered. The sixth sense responds most strongly to organized minds directed toward meaningful aims. A clear purpose becomes an instruction transmitted continuously into the subconscious and outward through the brain's broadcasting function. The more emotionally charged the purpose becomes, the more powerfully the subconscious and sixth sense organize around it. Now let us speak about faith. Faith is essential because fear blocks reception. Fear contracts mental sensitivity. Fear fills the mind with noise. Fear weakens intuition. Fear creates interference. Faith creates openness, expectation, receptivity. The man dominated by fear cannot hear the quiet voice of higher intelligence because fear screams too loudly. This is why emotional mastery matters. Not emotional suppression, emotional mastery. Now let us speak about imagination. The sixth sense works closely with imagination. Imagination provides the mental language through which intuitive impressions become visible to consciousness. Many intuitive insights first appear symbolically, visually, emotionally. The imaginative mind translates them into usable ideas. This is why creative people often possess heightened intuitive sensitivity. Their imaginations remain alive, flexible, responsive. Now let us speak about silence, because silence is absolutely essential. The sixth sense requires quiet, not merely external quiet, internal quiet, stillness, the deliberate calming of mental chatter. Most men never experience true internal silence. Their minds remain continuously crowded with worry, stimulation, distraction, comparison, and noise. And because of this, the subtle voice of intuition remains buried. Create silence daily, not emptiness, attentive silence, the quiet state where the mind becomes receptive instead of reactive. Many great achievers protected periods of solitude intensely, walking alone, sitting quietly, thinking deeply, not because they were antisocial, because the sixth sense speaks most clearly in stillness. Now let us speak about the subconscious mind. The subconscious constantly receives and processes information far beyond conscious awareness. Patterns, emotional signals, environmental impressions, behavioral subtleties. The subconscious integrates enormous amounts of information and sometimes delivers conclusions suddenly into consciousness as intuition. This explains part of the sixth sense mechanically, but not all of it, because some intuitive experiences exceed ordinary subconscious processing entirely, and honest men must admit this. Now let me speak about the Cabinet of Invisible Counselors. This was one of the most powerful exercises I ever developed personally. Each night I imagined meeting with great minds from history: Lincoln, Edison, Carnegie, Ford, Darwin, Napoleon, and others whose qualities I admired deeply. I imagined them vividly, their mannerisms, voices, temperaments, wisdom. Then I mentally presented problems to them. At first this appeared purely imaginative, but eventually something extraordinary happened. Ideas began arriving through these imagined conversations that exceeded my ordinary thinking. Unexpected insights, new perspectives, creative solutions. The exercise became a gateway for the sixth sense, because imagination, silence, focused attention, and emotional openness created the perfect conditions for intuitive reception. You can practice this yourself. Build your own invisible counsel. Study great minds deeply. Invite them into your imagination. Speak to them mentally. Then listen. Not forcefully, quietly, patiently. Now let us speak about recognizing the difference between intuition and ordinary emotional reaction. This distinction matters enormously. Fear speaks emotionally and urgently. The sixth sense speaks calmly. Wishful thinking tells you what you want to hear. The sixth sense tells you what is true, even when uncomfortable. Impulsiveness feels chaotic. The sixth sense feels clear and complete. The analytical mind builds conclusions step by step. The sixth sense delivers conclusions instantly. Learn these differences carefully, because much confusion comes from mistaking fear, impulse, or desire for intuition. Now let us speak about trust. Most men receive intuitive signals and ignore them, then later regret ignoring them, because the analytical mind often demands visible proof before action. But the sixth sense frequently operates ahead of proof, ahead of evidence, ahead of visible certainty. This is what makes it so powerful, and this is why trust becomes essential. Not blind trust. Develop trust. Trust earned through repeated experience. Every time you honor genuine intuition and later discover it was correct, trust deepens. Every time you ignore it and regret doing so, the lesson strengthens. Over time, the relationship with intuition becomes more reliable, more natural, more integrated. Now let us speak about the mastermind. Because the sixth sense amplifies dramatically inside harmonious mastermind alliances. When aligned minds unite around shared purpose, collective intuition strengthens. Creative breakthroughs emerge more frequently. Ideas appear seemingly from nowhere. The combined mental field becomes extraordinarily powerful. This is one reason why great achievements are rarely created entirely alone. Now listen carefully. Harmony matters tremendously. Fear weakens collective intuition. Ego weakens it. Disharmony weakens it. Trust strengthens it. Shared purpose strengthens it. Emotional alignment strengthens it. The greatest mastermind alliances in history operated with extraordinary intuitive synchronization. Now let us speak about sex transmutation. Because powerful emotional energy heightens intuitive sensitivity, the transmuted man becomes more alive mentally, more creative, more perceptive, more receptive. This heightened vitality strengthens both imagination and intuition. Again, not through repression, through intelligent direction of emotional force. Now let us speak about practical development. How does a man strengthen the sixth sense daily? First, maintain definite purpose. Second, cultivate faith instead of fear. Third, practice mental silence daily. Fourth, strengthen imagination continuously. Fifth, protect mental environment carefully. Sixth, act on intuition enough to build trust through experience. Seventh, maintain emotional vitality. Eighth, surround yourself with strong minds. And ninth, observe carefully. Pay attention to subtle impressions. Record them. Notice patterns. The sixth sense strengthens through attention. Now let me tell you something extraordinary. The sixth sense develops progressively, not suddenly. The more disciplined the mind becomes, the stronger intuition grows. The more emotionally balanced the man becomes, the clearer the signals become, the more purpose-driven life becomes, the more useful intuitive guidance becomes, because the mind itself becomes increasingly organized. Now let us speak honestly. Many men never develop this faculty because they remain mentally chaotic, fearful, distracted, emotionally reactive, undisciplined, and therefore they live only through the five physical senses. Limited to visible evidence, limited to surface reasoning, limited to ordinary awareness. But the man who develops the sixth sense accesses something far greater, a deeper intelligence, a higher perception, a guidance system beyond ordinary thought. Now let me challenge you directly. Think about the greatest decisions of your life, the moments that changed everything. Were they purely analytical, or did intuition guide them? Most men discover the same truth when answering honestly. The most important turning points often arrived through intuitive, knowing long before evidence fully appeared. Now listen carefully. Do not abandon reason. The sixth sense and reason must work together. Reason organizes, intuition guides, reason evaluates, intuition perceives, reason builds structure, intuition reveals direction. The complete mind uses both. Now let us speak about the Temple of Wisdom itself. The Temple of Wisdom is not a place. It is a state of developed consciousness. The condition of the man who has disciplined himself sufficiently to access higher intelligence consistently. A man operating with clarity, purpose, faith, imagination, persistence, emotional mastery, and intuitive awareness. This man becomes extraordinarily powerful, not because he controls others, because he controls himself, and because he can perceive opportunities, dangers, and directions invisible to ordinary minds. Now listen carefully to this. The door to the temple is already inside you. The sixth sense already exists within you. Every intuitive experience you have ever had proves it. The question is whether you will cultivate it deliberately or continue ignoring it unconsciously. Now let us close. I have spent this entire journey teaching you how to build the complete instrument of achievement. Purpose, faith, decision, persistence, imagination, mastermind, subconscious conditioning, mental broadcasting, and now the sixth sense. These are not separate principles. They are parts of one integrated system, the fully developed human mind. And the man who develops all of them becomes capable of extraordinary achievement. Not because he becomes supernatural, because he finally becomes fully developed. Now the decision belongs to you. Will you discipline the mind? Will you cultivate silence? Will you strengthen intuition? Will you trust the quiet voice when it speaks? Or will you continue living only through noise, fear, and visible evidence? Choose carefully, because the future of your life depends upon the quality of the instrument you develop. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And the sixth sense is the faculty through which the highest possibilities of that achievement become visible. Listen carefully, trust wisely, and walk through the door.